Councilmember Dennis Zine.
Good morning. I didn't do anything yet, but thank you for applauding anyway. Good morning, Madam Chair. We do presentations on Friday, recognizing individuals for a variety of activities. And we have one this morning for an individual who sits in this chamber. And it's my pleasure to introduce from the San Fernando Valley, the Chief of the San Fernando Valley, Chief Ron Bergman, for the presentation. I would appreciate it if my colleagues would please pay attention to Chief Bergman, especially Wendy Gruhl.
Did I hear her say, uh-oh?
Yeah, you did. And she's paying attention.
Good morning, members of City Council. Most of you, I think, know that Valley Bureau is leading the city in crime reduction this year, and that's for a variety of reasons, a lot of which is assistance from the City Council, whether it's funding or the 2 reserve officers that we have who are from the Valley. But you may not know that we also have another crime fighter in City Council who, with her policy director, actually helped chase down a car thief not too long ago. And so I'd like Councilmember Wendy Gruhl to come up here. You know, she may be known affectionately as the pothole queen in her council district, but she's obviously also interested in doing some crime fighting. And if you'll bear with me, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what she and her policy director, Leslie Polner, did. On February 7th, at about 2:45 p.m., they were returning to the City Hall office after attending a meeting in the San Fernando Valley. While eastbound on Victory Boulevard from Coldwater Canyon, you both observed a red 1995 Ford Aerostar van in front of your vehicle. The driver of the van suddenly drove toward the south curb in the 12800 block of Victory Boulevard and struck 3 parked vehicles, coming to a stop after striking the rear of the 3rd vehicle. 2 suspects exited the van and fled southbound on Goodland Avenue from Victory. You and Leslie followed the 2 fleeing suspects until another witness to the incident captured the passenger. The passenger suspect was ultimately returned to the scene of the traffic collision. The driver escaped and was not located. The suspect was arrested by North Hollywood for grand theft auto and booked at Van Nuys Jail. Investigation disclosed that the van had been stolen from the city of San Fernando, and the suspect had prior arrests on his record for 10851 AVC, driving without the owner's consent. You and Leslie, and did Leslie make it down here?
She's coming down. She's coming down.
Okay. You and Leslie recognized the dangerous nature of your actions, but chose to get involved because you both believe in community involvement. You have always been supportive of the department, and the San Fernando Valley is clearly better off as a result of your commitment to your constituents. Among the less dangerous of your accomplishments is your support of the anti-street racing ordinance and your push to educate our youth in middle and high schools and community colleges regarding the dangers of street racing. Clearly, your commitment to the community is one of a dedicated and caring individual, and as the Chief of Valley Bureau, I salute you for your efforts. And for that, you not only get a letter from me, but you get a very nice certificate of recognition signed by the Chief of Police.
Wow, look at that. I'll speak for a moment while we're waiting for Leslie, hopefully, to come down. She's up in a meeting in my office, but this was quite a surprise. Thank you, Mr. Zine, for that. You know, we were just competing with Greg and Dennis as to who could be the crime fighters on the city council. But when I called my husband and, of course, my mom, you know, my mother says, "I cannot believe you did that, but I would have done the same thing." So it was a way, and there were a number of other individuals who worked in the businesses on Victory Boulevard that were there, and the importance of their participation in catching these suspects was important. But it speaks to the fact that it has to be a team effort. Ms. Polner, please, my staff member. It has to be a team effort, and when we're trying to deal with crime and public safety and quality of life issues. And so I think my staff member was questioning herself when she was next to me in the car, and she said, lock the doors as we were following them in our vehicle. But this means a lot, Chief Bergman. I think I asked my staff maybe to frame the morning report we get that had, Councilmember Gruhl apprehend suspect that we receive each morning. But this is very, very special. So thank you, Chief. Thank you.
My pleasure. And we also have one of these certificates for Leslie. They were supposed to get you down here a little sooner, but and you have this letter of my thanks for what you and Wendy did that day on February 7th, and you have the appreciation of Operations Valley Bureau and the Los Angeles Police Department. So thank you very much for your crime-fighting efforts.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Leslie?
Well, I will just say that the life of a crime fighter is really difficult. It's there's so many things to take care of, and I have to say it was all Wendy. If it had been my choice, it would have driven the other direction. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bergman, Wendy, and Leslie, and thank you, Councilmember Zine. Mr. Ludlow.
No, I just wanted to make sure that before Wendy leaves, Chief, up until today, I was convinced that, Wendy wasn't maybe cut out for that. But when you called her up there, she came by here and bumped me. And I'm telling you, I thought she was a fullback. That guy had no chance. I just learned something about Wendy Gruhl I never knew before. I went all the way over my desk. She's a strong woman, and I know this guy didn't stand a chance. So anyway, congratulations, Wendy. Way to put your body on the line for the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mr. Ludlow. Mr. Ludlow, are you ready for the next presentation? No, okay. Mr. Garcetti. Oh, I'm sorry. We will allow and call on Mr. Councilmember Martin Ludlow.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to put Chief McDonald on the spot here a little bit as he just raced from Parker Center to be here. First of all, good morning, colleagues. It's my honor to be here with several members of the Los Angeles Police Department. We're here specifically today to honor two members of the department who also a partner of theirs could not be here this morning. But we have two officers here that were involved in apprehending the infamous West Bureau hooded bandits, Detective 1, Marla Kiley, and Police Officer 2, Alex Jacinto. They were also joined by their partner, Eduardo Mendez. Since May of 2004, 22 robberies had occurred in the northwestern part of my district, perpetuated by a group of individuals who would walk into business establishments wearing hooded sweatshirts. Although their acts were caught on video cameras, it was difficult to identify them because of the hoods that they were wearing. As this became a very serious issue, Captain Rich Wimmer from the Wilshire Division and I organized a community briefing for businesses throughout the West Bureau. And within 6 days of that meeting, these three officers were actually flagged down by a concerned citizen. And the next part of this story, I'm going to leave to them. But I will simply say this, colleagues, for those of you that may have been watching this in the news, this group of bandits literally terrorized the business community for nearly 4 months. Businesses were losing money. people who were coming in to patronize these businesses, as you can imagine, many of whom were ordered to the floor at gunpoint by these suspects, literally terrorized this part of LA for a good duration of time. And the acts of these three officers were absolutely amazing. And so we're going to share a little more detail about that here in a moment, but we're here today to honor them. Before we go any further, I'd like to ask Captain Wimmer to say a few words, and then we're going to hear from one of these officers. Captain Wimmer.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Due to the efforts of the 10th District community members, both business and residential, we were able to put together a tremendous amount of community awareness. Councilmember Ludlow fully supported our efforts, and as a result of that, the department had a number of resources that were working in various parts of West Bureau. On this one particular night in question, officers from the Wilshire Community Police Station demonstrated some tremendous courage and outstanding tactics in arresting these individuals. And I'd like to ask the officers to please continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. And now, Detective, if you're ready, we'd like you to walk us through what happened that evening.
Certainly. Okay, I just want to give you a first-hand experience of what we dealt with. We were actually going southbound on a street 1 block west of the location when we were flagged down by a citizen flashing their high beams, at which time we slowed down and waited for them to approach us, and they quickly, in Spanish, let us know that there was a robbery in progress, which was happening at the Smart and Final. And with that, my partner, who was driving, Officer Jacinto, he negotiated a U-turn. We came out on the main street of Pico Boulevard, which was just 1 block west of the Smart and Final, which we could see at the time. There was one vehicle leaving northbound out of our sight, so we actually drove towards the Smart and Final and chose to go after the vehicle that we believed was fleeing the location. That vehicle suddenly made a westbound turn on the next street, and then by the time we hit that corner, it was already northbound on the next street. We hit the second corner, and the car was parked at a 45-degree angle with both doors open, a cash register left on the floor, and 2 males running northbound. As the car was coming to a stop, due to my partner's driving here, my passenger partner, Mendez, and I jumped out of the vehicle and engaged in a foot pursuit after the 2 male suspects. The suspects then ran into some property which was up a driveway to the rear of this location, which then as we hit the rear, they were already down the side of the house. We ran along the side. Well, the first suspect tossed the gun over a fence, which was about 7 feet high, and then did an amazing jump over the fence. Second suspect had a little more problems getting over the fence as my partner latched onto him, and the 2 of them went over the fence. And then I jumped over the fence, and we were, that would be Officer Mendez. At that point, we engaged in a use of force with the actual second suspect. I recovered the gun, and my partner here was putting out a perimeter as we had one outstanding suspect, and unknowns to us as we were engaging in use of force, my partner here was dealing with a vehicle that suddenly began to drive off. So our third suspect, who ducked down in the vehicle, is now escaping our perimeter. But due to fast thinking, and we were having problems with getting through on a radio based on the frequency of other crimes occurring, we were able to put out a perimeter, have responding units, and within that perimeter, we caught the first suspect that escaped us, and then the third suspect that fled in the vehicle. He TC'd the vehicle, and then he actually returned in his own personal vehicle to come collect his partners, which at that point, entering back in the perimeter, he got caught. So I can't say they were the smartest of the criminals. But we did recover the gun, and I responded over to the Smart and Final, interviewed and retained the tape, which shows that they, at gunpoint, with rubber gloves on and hooded sweaters and jackets, actually committed this robbery. So at the same point, we were able to recover all property and recover the weapon.
I'd like to ask Councilmember Dennis Zine to come up with me. I'd like to hear a few words. We're honored today. He rushed over here on very short notice. Chief McDonald.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. This kind of stuff goes on all the time in the city. This time we were fortunate that we had citizens who got involved. The officers are out there doing a good job in the right place at the right time, focused on the problems in the neighborhood, able to to chase down these guys and take some violent felons into custody, making the neighborhood even safer. I want to thank Councilmember Ludlow and the rest of the council members for taking the time to acknowledge the good police work that was done in this particular case, and to the officers who go out there and do it each and every day, a real special thank you.
Yeah, Tamarla and Alex out of Wilshire Division, Senior Lead Officer. Detective.
Normally, I'm not on patrol.
All right, okay, detective. How many years?
10.
10 years. You borrowed the shirt.
No, actually.
No hash marks.
No hash marks.
I was looking for hash marks. 5 years on the job, 10 years on the job, 15 years. And this is reflective of the professionalization that we have within the LAPD. How many times have either of you been to city council?
First time.
First time? 5 years on the job, 10 years on the job, never been to city council. These 15 folks make sure that you have the support. Every day that we meet, the concern is that the police department gets the support so you can do the job that obviously you've done so well. And going through the pursuit, going through the foot pursuit, going through the use of force, and apprehending, obviously the victim is pleased. We're very pleased, and the community is very pleased. And we just want to send out a message that we're here working in partnership with the representatives, the members of the LAPD, and to get the assistant chief up to come out here, and the captain, we appreciate that too. But on behalf of the entire city council, appreciate the work you've done, you'll continue to do, and it's with that work every single day that the people of Los Angeles depend upon you to make it safe, and obviously you're doing that. So I join my colleague Martin Ludlow, the assistant chief, and my colleagues in congratulating you for, once again, a job well done. And every day you do this, it doesn't get recognized every day, but this is part of your home here at City Hall. We do appreciate it. Congratulations.
So on behalf of the City of Los Angeles City Council, I'd like to present both of you with this certificate of commendation, as mentioned, for your bravery, your courage, and your professionalism. Thank you so much on behalf of countless numbers of block clubs, neighborhood associations, and definitely chambers of commerce in the mid-city of Los Angeles, who for almost 4 months were completely terrorized by the individuals that you apprehended. Thank you all so much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much to our officers, and Councilmember Ludlow.
If I could ask the captain and the chief to stay with me, as well as Councilmember Zine. Today is a good day. Officer, if you could join us up here. Today is a good day, and as we sort of tuned in to Councilmember Grewal just a few moments ago, colleagues, we're standing here with a gentleman who's very lucky to be standing here at all. Many of you remember this night. In October last year, Officer Matthew McNulty was involved in a vehicle pursuit which resulted in an exchange of gunfire. One bullet pierced through the car door that he was driving and struck him in his equipment belt. He was very fortunate. What happened to Officer Matthew demonstrates the level of danger that all of our police officers take on a daily basis. I wanted to take this moment to recognize him for a couple of reasons. One is I remember that night, and I'm forever grateful for the police department as well as the Police Protective League in allowing me to come into the hospital to just shake his hand. As all of you know, there's quite a great degree of confidentiality that needs to go in those situations. But when I went in there, his wife was there. He had the most amazing sense of poise. As you can imagine, he literally had just been shot. And in those moments, one can only imagine what must go through one's mind as to how lucky, how blessed, how fortunate you are. But what struck me was how he did actually take this in stride. He was demonstrating a great degree of good fortune, but to the end was incredibly professional and calm. And we wanted to come here today to acknowledge his leadership, the fact that his family has him here today to continue to celebrate life, which we can so often take for granted every day. I wanted to ask Captain Wimmer also to say a couple words about Officer McNulty, and then I want to turn it over to Mr. Zine as well. Captain?
Thank you very much, Council Member. Officer McNulty's bravery that night was extremely in the highest traditions of the Los Angeles Police Department. He faced an individual who not only had one firearm, but he had two firearms. He exited a vehicle after a vehicle pursuit. He endangered community members, and then he engaged a number of officers. Thankfully, because of our officers' decisive action, he was able to be safely stopped. And ironically, we learned later that he was also wanted for another shootout where he had wounded another police officer in a part of the United States on the East Coast. So again, we were just extremely thankful for all of our officers' bravery that night, and that he could be with us here today to be acknowledged for his bravery and courage.
Matthew, congratulations. I see you have at least 5 years on the job. I always look, if you put your arm, I always look for hash marks. That says how many years, and after 5 years you get a hash mark, and each 5 years you get another hash mark, and it keeps on going all the way up. Well, obviously, some angel was with you that particular evening, and to go through that experience, some officers never experience it, obviously you did experience it. You're back on the streets, protecting and serving the people of the city of Los Angeles. So I join my colleagues in congratulating you, facing that danger every single day and not running away. But what police officers do is they run into battle, they run in to confront the situations, and obviously you came out the hero on that situation, and we wish you well. I'm sure your family worries every day you go to work, but you come home at night protecting and serving, and it's with that endeavor that we can turn Los Angeles around. And again, how many times have you been to City Council? First time. We need to bring more of you down here and let the folks at Wilshire know that we're supportive. And we have over 9,000 officers, and we wish they could all come down and see the appreciation that we have for what you go through every single day. So Wilshire Division's got 3 heroes here today, 4 heroes counting the captain, 5 heroes counting the assistant chief, and then the 300 or 400 officers that are assigned to Wilshire Division and all the other officers assigned to the police department. So again, congratulations, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Just a reflection on this. In this particular circumstance, officer was out there. He didn't know what he was stopping. The suspect obviously knew he was wanted for shooting a police officer back east. His assumption would be that the officers here would know that, and he's not going to go down. He's going to go out fighting. Officers do this each and every night and confront people that they have no idea what's in that person's mind. In this case, thank God it worked out the way it did, and we have Officer McNulty here with us for the future, and a long, successful future we hope for him. Thank you very much for acknowledging him again today.
And now the final comment. We'd like to hear your thoughts. Officer McNulty.
I'm just really grateful for this award, and I just wanted to let everyone know that how thankful I am for the opportunity to be a police officer, especially in the city of Los Angeles. And I'm very grateful that everything went well that one night, and grateful to be back out on the streets and serving the community. I just want to thank the council members for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ludlow, for those 2 fine presentations this morning. And next, I would like to call on Councilmember Eric Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, members of the public. I'm pleased today to be able to stand here with our City Clerk, Frank Martinez, to present a leap forward in our city's information technology, and something that we've talked about for a long time in budget hearings. We've heard community members and neighborhood councils and others talk about, but that we're very exciting to finally be demoing here. The City Clerk's office has unveiled a new online documents feature that is connected to the Council File Index, and we have a demonstration running right now. Whether you're networked at a desk here in Council or whether you're in a cyber cafe in Bangladesh, you can have access finally to the scanned documents, the originals of Council motions, the staff reports, and many other supporting documents. For those who haven't done this before, oftentimes we put the agenda up, but we haven't been able to dig deeper. So if you're a member of the public, you go and you read through the agenda, and in sometimes somewhat bureaucratic language, it says what items the City Council is doing. But it doesn't give you the plain English documents that council members and others have on their desk, or that the public often has to travel all the way down to City Hall to be able to get. And maybe we'll wait a little bit, and Mr. Martinez can walk through kind of the demo part in just one moment. In May of 2004, you'll remember that we celebrated E-Day, which encouraged the use of electronic forms and files to cut down on paper usage. During that day, we tried to emphasize that we could make things electronic instead of always having to have piles and stacks of papers, which we see all around us and which strain our city's landfills. So now, a year later, through the great work of the city clerk's office, this has been something they've asked for. We haven't been able to budget it always, and with existing resources and a little bit extra, they've been able to finally put this together so that we can all find the files and the pages on the internet that we need. It also makes it much easier for neighborhood councils and activists to get involved with city government. So instead of traveling downtown, instead of more traffic, instead of more pollution, as people come from the far reaches of the city to City Hall, you can now save yourself a trip and printing expense and be much better informed about your city government. So with that, I'd like to pass the microphone to City Clerk Frank Martinez, who will show us how it's done today with an example from our own agenda here as well. So, Frank?
Richard, why don't you go back to the agenda, and then we'll go ahead and click on it. We're going to choose item number 8, and you can see that the council file is highlighted in blue, and we click on that. And then a listing comes up of the scanned documents that are underlying that particular agenda item. So if you click on the motion there. And here we have the actual document that comes up, the actual scanned document with the signatures, any other notations on it. And by using scanning technology, we don't have to worry about version control. We know we have the correct document. If you could go ahead and click on go back and then click on the report. And you also see we have the actual reports that underline the documents as well. You can access this information from the agenda itself or also from our council file index system. All the documents are scanned and archived in an electronic warehouse. As Councilmember Garcetti mentioned, we were able to do this with existing staff using scanning technology. And this is a going forward project as we get new files created. We do this. Not all the documents are scanned, of course. For instance, the environmental impact report for the airport project was about 20 boxes, so we just do the basic reports. And you still can come to our office if you want to go through 15 boxes of environmental reports. And finally, I'd just like to thank my system staff, Greg Allison, Director of Systems, and his staff, Helen Ginsberg, Council of Public Services and their staff, as well as the support from ITA for making this project possible. And it's part of our ongoing effort to support access to city government.
Yes, give the city clerk's office a round of applause for that. That is something well deserved. And just in closing, Madam President, I think revolutions happen in quiet ways, but we hope some of the press actually picks this up as well. This is one of those signal changes here that really will allow the virtual doors of City Hall to open up to communities everywhere, and to ensure that as we talk a lot about democracy around here, that that has a real meaning every single day, and that citizens can be just as well informed as anybody around here. We are a city of equals, and the city clerk's office has helped us take a bold step even further towards that goal. So congratulations to our city clerk and to his staff, and use that online file index document service. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you to the city clerk and Councilmember Garcetti. For our next presentation, Councilmember Reyes.
Good morning. Buenos dias. You know, many times we hear about all the challenges we have in our respective districts. But I have a real jewel in my district. It's called the Loyola Law School. And part of their brilliance is how they're able to represent the city of Los Angeles. On April 5th, 2005, in Dallas, Texas, a team comprised of mostly second-year Loyola Law School students faced a nationwide challenge competing against the most prestigious law schools in the United States. In this competition, Melissa Lyons, Catherine McCann, and Brian Ward did both their school and this city proud as they went on to defeat all the other schools, becoming the first team in the history of Los Angeles to win the national trial competition, which is considered the most prestigious trial advocacy competition in the country. We are very proud to have them with us and are able to recognize them today. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in applauding these talented individuals for achieving this great honor. We have with us Melissa Lyons and Catherine McCann. Unfortunately, Brian Ward could not be here today because he is currently working on a trial. But I'd like to thank Raymond Sakari for advocating for this recognition on their behalf, because too many times our young people are out there competing, doing everything they can to make this city the great city that it is, and to win this great award truly is an honor. So I just want to take this moment to congratulate them and give them this certificate of congratulations to Catherine McCann, Loyola Law School. Catherine, congratulations. And Miss Melissa Lyons.
I just want to say thank you very much for recognizing us here today. We spent a lot of hours, a lot of time at school on the weekends, and when we finally got to competition, we went up against some of the best schools in the country and came out victorious. So it was really a good experience, and I'd like to thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much. We gave up spring break to practice. It was hard, but ultimately it paid off, and we're truly grateful for the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Reyes. Members, we do now have a quorum, so Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Vitagosa, Whiteside, Padilla. 10 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
All right, as we are now formally in session, let me call on Councilmember Parks for our last presentation this morning.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to ask Abdul Henderson to come up, a war hero, born and raised in the 8th District. His father, Stan, longtime public servant, law enforcement official with the USC. Come on up, Stan. His mom, Mona. We're honoring a young man. We're going to show you a little videotape before we get into the presentation.
You can make people do anything if they're afraid.
The FAA has taken the action to close all of the airports in the United States.
All commercial and airline traffic was grounded.
But we had some airplanes authorized at the highest levels of our government to pick up Osama bin Laden's family members and transport them out of this country.
In the middle of the war, corporations decided to hold a conference to figure out how much money could be made.
Once that oil starts flowing, it's going to be lots of money. Whatever it costs, the government will pay you.
It's going to be good for business, bad for the people.
Congressman, trying to get members of Congress to get their kids to enlist in the Army and go over to Iraq.
The USA Patriot Act allows for searches of medical and financial records.
It gives law enforcement almost unlimited power.
They wait till the middle of the night. It's printed in the middle of the night.
How could Congress pass this Patriot Act without even reading it?
Sit down, my son. We don't read most of the bills.
No one read it.
Members of Congress, this is Michael Moore. I would like to read to you the USA Patriot Act.
Let the eagles soar.
From the corridors of power,
Congressman,
to the streets of small-town America, to the front lines.
This is an impressive crowd, the haves and the have-mores. Some people call you the elite. I call you my base.
comes the true story that will make your temperature rise.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
I'm Abdul Henderson. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I'm a corporal in the reserves of the United States Marine Corps. I went to Iraq last year. I got activated January 14th. When we were overseas, we had media embedded with us, and what the military gave us, they gave us what's called a media card. It's a card that tells you pretty much what you can and what you cannot say to the media. It says that you can't say anything bad about the military. Don't voice your opinions on the political side of it, and definitely don't give up any classified information or talk about your operations. Just tell them like, hi, you know, I'm all right, and that's pretty much it.
Originally, why did you join the reserves?
You know, I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted to feel connected to America. I always wanted to be a Marine. It was a childhood dream of mine to serve my country in the military.
And once you started to serve, how did you feel?
Well, I felt honored. It takes great resilience to become a Marine, because you have to give up so much physically and mentally. They break you down and build you up. And to get that Eagle, Globe, and Anchor at the end of the crucible is very touching. I was excited. I was ready to take on the world at that point. I was ready to defend my country.
And then when you got over to Iraq, did it feel like you were defending your country?
Not at all. I felt betrayed.
Why is that?
It's because I knew from the onset, even before we were deployed overseas, that there was no justification in going over there. The reasons that were stated to myself and to the American people, it wasn't there. We didn't have clear facts.
Tell me one of the first things that happened, like when you went over there.
I think this is probably the most touching story I can tell you. We were in the Al Hamar Marsh, which is in southern Iraq, just north of Basra, or northwest of Basra, and it was a convoy of trucks. They were the enemy, and the guys engaged and they were killed. And then when we came to the scene, they had buried one of their comrades that had expired. And then as I searched this truck and I looked inside, and it had bullet holes in the windshield, there was blood on the seat, I saw a picture of Jesus Christ on the dashboard, and it was a cross hanging from the mirror. And that touched me to the point, here I am, and here's a man who believes in the same religion that I believe in, and in his mind, he's sitting here defending his homeland from an outside aggressor. And here I am defending my country in an unjust cause. And that was probably the most hurtful thing for me, besides calling in airstrikes. And as we were securing the Ramallah oil fields, we were in a section, the most northeast section by this canal, and it was one night. It was pretty intense combat. Rockets going off. We were getting shot at with indirect fires, rocket propelled grenades. So we had to take cover a few times. And at the end of that excursion, I had to call in the strike.
Did people die?
Yeah. Yeah, I have no problem in defending my country where my country is unjustified and defending itself from a country that poses an imminent threat to us. Not at all.
Did you feel like you were defending our country when you called in that airstrike?
I felt like I was in a Hollywood movie, like I was from some futuristic society going back in time and killing poor people in a third world country. That's how I felt.
Where were you when Bush landed on that aircraft carrier with a big sign that said "Mission Accomplished"?
I was I'm trying to remember.
Did you see it?
Yeah. I think I can't remember. I think that was in June.
Yeah, it was in May.
It was in May.
What'd you think when you saw that?
You know, I really didn't have any comments on that. It's mission accomplished. Okay, their mission is accomplished.
You told me a little bit earlier about protecting the oil fields. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
We would tour some of them, and what I saw in these oil fields were that everything in there was American made. Now I'm thinking I'm going to see Arabic written on these machines, but everything's in English.
So you were there to protect the oil fields for the American companies?
Yeah, and then we went into Basra after we secured the oil fields.
Mm-hmm. You think the American people know that?
I don't know. I would think they would know that
by now.
Hopefully by now, that they're using, myself. I was being used as a vessel for some bigger scheme, and they're using a lot of poor whites, Asians, Latinos. They're using us to do their work.
You see a lot of Halliburton stuff when you were over there?
No, but when we were getting ready to come home, when we crossed the border, Route 80 pretty much travels all through Kuwait leading up to Iraq. There was miles and miles of pipes. They were sitting in columns of 3. So I have a picture for you if you want to see. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
And what they were doing, they had just started the groundbreaking, and it seemed like they were putting these pipelines together leading to the north. And I was just like, how ironic is this? It's just come back and you see all these miles of pipes, because those pipes weren't there when we started.
You kind of begin to see what this was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in 1775. Back in 1775. My Marine Corps came alive. My Marine Corps came alive.
Well, how do you think we did with our recruitment today? Probably better to see nobody's kid over there.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you very much. You can see from that visual, a young man that served his country, certainly returned to this country with strong feelings about that service. But I think what's also most important is that he has continued on that activism where his life now is devoted to getting young people to participate in the democratic process and also to get young people to vote. Abdul Henderson was born in Los Angeles, as I mentioned earlier, as the son of Mona K. Harrison and Stan Henderson. He attended schools locally, Frank Parent Elementary School in Ladera, Inglewood High School, but he's a graduate of Crenshaw High School in the 8th District. He's currently pursuing his undergraduate work at Cal State Los Angeles. He's married, he has a son. He entered the United States Marine Corps in December 1999, and he earned his Eagle and Globe Anchor graduating private first class in March 24, 2000. He participated in the Marine Artillery Scout Observers course in Lawton, Oklahoma, and graduated as a master shooter by obtaining the highest score during the observation and adjustment and indirect fire exercise. He also graduated top of his class in the fire support course in the Warfare Training Group in Coronado. In January 2003, he received his activation orders and served in Operation Enduring Freedom during the Operation's Iraqi Freedom War. He served 6 months as a liaison in the 1st United Kingdom Division, 3rd Parachute Regiment, Charlie Company. On April 1st, he was presented the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal for his performance during the rescue of 2 trapped British soldiers during the war. Upon his return from Iraq, he testified before the full federal congressional panel questioning the legality of the war. As a result of this participation, he also was approached to be a part of the film made by Michael Moore, which you saw parts of it today, documenting a new film about America's participation in Iraq. He was featured in that movie, as also a feature in that subject at the 2004 Cannes Film Festival on Fahrenheit 9/11. He appeared in Good Morning America, the CNN Inside Politics. He's also written a number of articles, most notable the Essence magazine. Also, he's written a portion of the book for Michael Moore, Will They Ever Trust Us Again? He's been featured in almost every major print electronic outlet in the country. As a result of his participation in this documentary, he's been one of the most featured speakers at town hall meetings throughout the country and has averaged attendance of nearly 7,000 people. During the most recent presidential campaign season, he toured nationally with such notables as Michael Moore, Roseanne Barr, and other celebrities discussed the importance of voting and its impact on democracy. He is currently active national Democratic politics in his free time and encourages young people of all ethnicities to take an active role in the political process. He currently works as a special advisor on Veteran Affairs for the United States Congress member Diane Watson. He's joined here today by his parents, Stan and Mona. We have a certificate for him because we believe that although born and raised in the 8th District, he's a true war hero, and we just like to make sure he's aware of how much we appreciate him.
First, I would like to thank my 4 biggest supporters, 2 of them which aren't here, my wife and my son who are in Washington, D.C., and then my mother and my father for being here with me today. And also I would like to thank Councilman Parks for his support, Councilman Ludlow, the former council member Mark Riley Thomas, and Congresswoman Diane Watson. They have been very big supporters of mine through this very difficult time. You can only imagine what it's been like to be still in the military, having to take a stance like the one I've took. I stand before this council grateful for being recognized, grateful for being able to serve as a representative from Los Angeles and a representative from the U.S. military. I'm speaking on the behalf of myself today, just to make that sure, because Big Brother is always watching, as I have found out over the last year. But I would just keep my comments brief. I've dedicated my life to public service. I've wanted to make a career out of the military, which is no longer an option for me. So I am pursuing other avenues in public service, and one of them will start with Diane Watson's office as a representative of working on Veterans Affairs, because I do take those issues personally. So I will continue on my speaking, encouraging young and old to get out and participate in the process, because as you look at the situation we're in today, large budget deficits, a war that never produced an imminent threat. So you make the judgment call, but I'm going to be here fighting the good fight for people who want to make stands but don't have the courage to stand. I'll take the initiative and do it for them. So I thank the council for recognizing me today. I thank Councilman Parks, and thank you, LA.
Thank you, Council Member. I just be very, very brief. Abdul, just want to say thank you. When people around the world, but I know around this country, watched that film and saw your courage, it reminded us of so many heroes that have spoken up on issues of injustice and concerns about war and devastation worldwide. And it was heartwarming to see someone of such stature and poise present not only on behalf of the country, but on behalf of the African American community, just to have a voice out there saying what you said. So you come from good genes. I've known your father for almost 20 years, and I know he's an amazing man. So congratulations, and you deserve this distinction from the city of LA.
Thank you very, very much, Councilmember Parks and Councilmember Ludlow. Members, that does conclude our presentations today. So, Mr. Clerk, let's go through the agenda.
First order of business would be approval of the minutes.
Mr. Parks moves, Mr. Ludlow seconds. The minutes are approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Those are also approved.
Madam President, do you wish to take public comment at this time?
No, let's go through the items, see what's called special.
On the regular agenda, items 1 through 7 are items noticed for public hearing.
There are no cards on items 1 through 7, so I will open the hearing and close the hearing. Items 1 through 7 are before us. Members, any specials? Items 1 through 7. Seeing none, those items are before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved.
And the ordinances will go over to June 3rd.
All right.
Next to items 8 through...
It can't be forthwith because there weren't 12 here. It has to go over for 1 week. If we get 12 members before we adjourn, we'll reconsider those items.
Next on the agenda, items 8 through 19 are items for which public hearings have been held. On item 9, the Budget and Finance Committee has submitted its report, and the recommendations do differ than those of the EQ Committee. A motion is required, and a technical amendment has been introduced and circulated on item 10.
All right. We have the technical amendment before us. Let's call item 9 special so we can resolve the differences between the two reports. Others items, items 8 through 19. I believe, yes, Ms. Perry.
For Mr. Parks, 9 and 19.
All right, 9 is called special, and 19 will also be called special for Mr. Parks. Any other specials, members? 8 through 19, with the exception of 9 and 19. Seeing none? Those are before us with the motion on 10A. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved.
Items 20 through 34 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. An amending motion on item 20 has been circulated.
All right, we have an amending motion on item 20. Any specials, members? 20 through 34. Mr. Smith.
Yes, Madam Chair, item 34 was waived out of my committee without request to do so, and I have not talked to the council member of the district on why it's on the agenda today, but it did not go to the Public Policy Committee, Public Works. I'd like to send to committee.
All right, if there's no objection, item 34 per request will be sent to Public Works Committee. The other items, we do have a card on item 30, so we will call item 30 special. Any other specials? 35 called special for, we're not quite there yet, but we will call special. Okay, 20 through 34. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved. Next.
On the continuation agenda, item 35 is an item for which public hearing has been held, and an amending motion has been circulated as well.
All right, and Ms. Perry did call that special, so item 35 will be special.
Madam President, do you wish to recess the regular meeting and take up the special meeting?
Yes, let's do that this time.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Vitagoso, Whiteside, Padilla. 10 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Okay.
On the first item, nothing has been received in the clerk's office at this time. No council action is required.
All right.
Item 2 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Item 2 on the special agenda is now before us, members. Does anyone would like to call that special? There are no cards for item 2, so the matter is before us. Then let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Let us return. I know that Mr. Parks has called 9 special. Let us return to this public comment at this time. For the public comment, we had some cards that were received. Adama Abu Akmal, Michael Lawrence Dickerson, and Melrose Larry Green.
Madam President, council members, public, My name is Dom Akmal. I'm here on behalf of Universal Entertainment Enterprises. And it's in regards to the situation with the young people that, as we see on TV, have been having problems. So we have put together a dance for them for the summertime. It's called Teen Summer Jam. It's going to be at the Masonic Ballroom on Wilshire Boulevard. The doors will be opening at 4:30 and it will be closing at 11. To give them an opportunity over the summer, since it might be hot this summer, to cool off and learn that they can all get together. So I hope the City Council and all of you support this. It's open for all the children of Los Angeles, and they also have, the tickets will be sold through Inglewood Tickets, so they can pick it up for the summer. So again, I hope that all the City Council members here today support this. Any questions, Mr. President? No, not today.
We'll hear from the next speaker then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, this is for the children of Los Angeles, so they can have some place to go. It's for the ages 16 through 19 years of age.
Thank you. Michael Lawrence Dickerson.
I'm going to be 51 in about 3 or 4 days, so I can't play like I can see anymore. I'd like to begin by saying that what I'm about to say is meant in the nicest of all ways, and nice being a rather ambiguously subjective term. It gives anyone who uses it quite a bit of latitude in what they decide is meant by it. And I think that's nice. So the revolution will not be televised, because if you're still watching TV, there ain't gonna be no revolution. I have packets for the City Council people. There are 15 of these I'd like to leave. I'm gonna start with reading from the LA Times, 1992. My kids started Grape Street Elementary School, kindergarten. They're 5 years old, right? Parent hopes music bridges gap between Latino and Black pupils. Bullet. Education. Segregating students for instruction in Spanish sends the wrong signal, father says. He launches fundraising effort to buy and rent instruments. When Michael Dickerson took his 5-year-old twins to Watts Grape Street Elementary School for their first day of kindergarten this month, he was disturbed to see Latino children going off in one direction and African-American youngsters going off in another. Even after Principal Alvis Andrews told him the segregation was necessary so that African-American students could be taught in English and Latino students in Spanish, Dickerson remained upset. Wait a minute. Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. Segregation in all forms has been outlawed by the federal government. So the LA Unified School District, under the guise of teaching children in their own language, has been practicing segregation of students. But wait a minute, segregation separate but equal? My kid goes to school, he graduates, he speaks English. A little Cambodian kid goes to school, he graduates, he speaks English and Spanish. So what has happened is, guess the mic's been turned off or something, criminal complaint has been filed with the United States Justice Department. 5 days after the gang problem we had over at Jordan High School on November 19th, 2004. What federal crime has been committed? Segregation of African American students and Latino students for many, many years by the Los Angeles Unified School District. Explain in detail what you know about the crime. The Los Angeles Unified School District segregated African American students and Latino students away from each other under the guise of teaching them in their own language. By not allowing children to learn together and interact at a very young and impressionable age, LAUSD breeded racial tension after planting the seeds of separation. Racial tensions in poorer areas of the city. So, last year, 2004, 50th anniversary, Brown versus Board of Education, barring all forms of segregation throughout the United States, LAUSD ignored this federal mandate, segregated students, devised educational programs that kept students of different races and cultures apart during their first years of education. So the deal was, bottom line is,
Mr. Dickerson,
this is
can I ask you to
1992.
conclude, please? Thank you. Melrose Larry Green.
Okay,
Mr. Green.
I'm Melrose. Someone use your glasses. Your son. Thank you. It's a tough act to follow. You know, I don't know whether to laugh or cry right now. I got to temper my comments because I put in an application to work for the next mayor of Los Angeles. And if I said what I really thought about that last presentation with Councilman Parks, I probably would lose any chances I have of getting the job. So I can't really say what I feel about the Michael Moore testament with that man that was quote-unquote honored here. But here it is on Memorial Day weekend, so I'm trying to temper my comments. On behalf of all the veterans that are watching this on TV, I apologize for the Michael Moore presentation. On behalf of all the parents of young men and women that are fighting in Iraq, I apologize for the Michael Moore presentation. On behalf of all the men and women fighting in Iraq, I apologize for the Michael Moore presentation. Mind you, I am tempering my comments. If I am not hired by Mayor-elect Villaraigosa in the next 90 days, remind me and I will tell you during public comment what I would have said. But I know that you have to be careful what you say when you put your name on a resume. As a Republican, and I'm not the only Republican in this chamber, I helped elect Mayor-elect Villaraigosa. I'm very proud he's on the cover of Newsweek. And rather than this council have garbage like Michael Moore, who in my opinion is a traitor, featured in this council should be inviting President Bush, give him an olive wreath to come to the council. Michael Moore won't bail you out of your fiscal woes. Michael Moore won't pay for more schools and fix the potholes in Los Angeles. Michael Moore won't solve the problems at Jefferson High School, but George Bush got about $3 or $4 billion that he could throw at Los Angeles. Mind you, I have tempered my comments. Mind you, you got a PG-rated version of what I wanted to say after that presentation. This is Memorial Day weekend. When I speak on item 30, I'll speak about how this council is honoring Croatian Independence Day. But that's not until I talk about item 30. But it would be nice if this council honored American soldiers somewhere in this agenda and remember what Memorial Day is all about. And I will never deny that I support President Bush, that I support what's going on right now in this war against terrorism. Oh, I love Antonio. Antonio's my brother, and he'll be a great mayor. I have 1 minute and 20 seconds. I'm going to use it. Because if you got to see Michael Moore, you're going to have to see Melrose Larry Green. I have never felt more nauseous in my life than after that presentation. And for any of you that want to know why we're in Iraq, you can email me at melrose1@earthlink.net, and I'll use some of my Brandeis and Cornell and Fletcher School of Diplomacy expertise to let you know why we're fighting this war against terrorism. It has a lot more to do than George Bush's re-election. Believe you me, I have tempered my comments because I want to get a job with Mayor-elect Villaraigosa. And I can see Antonio telling me right now, don't sweat it. But you know what? I had to just tell you how I felt as an individual about that Michael Moore presentation. And now I can finally say, after 54 years, I've finally seen Fahrenheit 9/11 by coming to City Council. I yield my 25 seconds. I'm Melrose Larry Green.
That concludes our public comment period. Mr. Clerk, let's return to the items that were called special.
Item 9 was called special for Councilmember Parks and a motion from the floor.
Mr. Parks, item number 9, and the difference between the Budget Committee and the Environmental Quality Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. We'd like to hold 9 till Tuesday so we can get a couple of things clarified.
All right, if there's no objection, we'll continue item 9 until Tuesday. That will be the order. Next item.
Item 19 was called special by Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks, item 19.
On item 19, I think that's a closed session item addressing issues of the deferred comp and representation.
Mr. City Attorney, is that acceptable?
If the questions will get into prejudicial areas, then we would recommend that it be in closed session.
All right, then we'll hold item 19 till the end of the agenda.
Item 30 was called special for a card from the public.
Item 30, let me call on Melrose Larry Green.
This is Melrose Larry Green. By the way, I have in my right hand, must reading for everybody, this week's Newsweek magazine with our new mayor-elect on the cover, which I think is pretty outstanding. I've been in Newsweek, and I've never made the cover, but this is a real COVID, which look it up in your Gaelic dictionary. It's a real COVID. Item 30, I mean, here we go again. I got to temper my comments because the mayor-elect is in the room, and I've submitted my resume on the email. Not that I'll get it, but how could you honor Croatian Independence Day? I mean, I know you're liberals, and I know everybody's welcome and it's inclusive in the city of LA, but are you aware of the role of the Croatian community in Nazi Germany, with Hitler's Germany? Is anybody aware? I mean, this is beyond me. $1,226 in city money to honor Croatian Independence Day on May 29th. It would be nice if you spent $1,200 to have a Memorial Day parade someplace in the city of LA. Well, you do, but it's not on the agenda. I know, but it's not on the agenda. It's not on the agenda. So anyway, I would like to know why the city of LA is spending $1,226 to celebrate Croatian Independence Day. Don't the Croats have enough money? What's next? I mean, come on. Honestly, I just like somebody to tell me. And that's all I have to say. I mean, after the Michael Moore presentation, I know I probably should have shut up, but this might be the last time I get to talk in public. And I want the mayor-elect to know that my comments are my own, not those of the Villaraigosa administration, although I love him very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Item 30 is now before us. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, open the roll on the matter, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right, that is approved. I'd like to ask that item 32 be sent forthwith. And what does that bring us to?
Item 35 was called special by Councilmember Perry.
Ms. Perry, item 35.
I'll be Mrs. Perry for a minute. We have motion 35A that's been circulated. Basically, it alters the recommendations of the committee in which we satisfy the emergency repair by extending the contract for 6 months at the $200,000, but send back the RFP to be reissued. The concern I have in discussion was that, first of all, we had an RFP that was information went out to local papers on one day. We had about nine phone calls. Only 2 companies actually applied, one of which submitted paperwork that was not in compliance with the RFP, so we gave it to the only company that complied. And then, unfortunately, in addressing it, that company is located in Whittier. And so, in looking at our overall concern about local contracting, we'd like to go back and see how we might encourage local contractors to apply for this. And so we do not want to harm Housing Department's program by not having coverage for the next 6 months on urgent repair, but we do believe that the RFP needs to be reissued.
So the motion is?
The motion is 2 parts. One, to instead of approving the current RFP, that we negotiate with the current company for extended 6 months interim at $200,000 while the Housing Department resubmits the RFP during that 6-month period and get additional activity.
Okay, so we'll consider that a substitute motion to the report that's before us. Any other members wishing to speak? If not, then open the roll on the substitute, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved.
Okay, we have this forthwith.
And we will have that forthwith as well. Mr. Clerk? Clerk, what does that bring us to?
Madam President, that leaves item 19 still on the desk. Do you wish to do housekeeping before going into
Yes,
closed
let's do
session?
housekeeping.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Hahn requests to be excused July 19th, 20th, 22nd, 26th, and 27th for city business. All meet council policy.
Councilmember Hahn is excused on those dates.
And Councilmember Smith requests to be excused Friday, October 21st for personal business. That also meets council policy.
That excuse is also approved.
That clears the desk for closed session.
All right. A special 2 is also sent forth with request by Mr. Garcetti. Members, we have only one item for a closed session on the desk. I'm going to ask members of the public to vacate the chambers so that we can go into closed session and discuss legal implications of the matter before us. All right, we are back in public session. Item 19 is now before us for a vote. Seeing no one wishing to speak, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. I believe we are now clear from the items on the agenda.
That does clear the desk, Madam President.
Are there any announcements, members? Yes, there are announcements. Mr. Zine.
You gotta have something to eat.
I'd like to inform the people of Los Angeles and Melrose Larry Green there is a Memorial Day parade Monday in Canoga Park. It starts at Topanga and Sherman Way, goes down Topanga to DeSoto, down DeSoto, Van Owen, back to Owens Mouth, and everyone's invited to attend. Memorial Day parade, there'll be a lot of military folks there, and Mayor-elect Antonio Villaraigosa will be riding in that parade. So everyone's welcome to come out to the Memorial Day parade in Canoga Park, 11 o'clock. Memorial Day, Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Other announcements? Mr. Parks.
I'd just like to announce to the community that the Leimert Park Village Farmers Market, which started last Sunday, will be scheduled for every Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Vision Theater parking lot on Degnan Boulevard and 43rd Street. And so we encourage all the community to come out and participate. This is sponsored by the 8th District Cultural Affairs and also funded through our CDD funds.
Thank you. Mr. Wes.
Yes, thank you. We are having this Saturday a ceremony in Cypress Avenue to commemorate our veterans. We have been able to acknowledge many of the Latinos and Chicanos who have died in various wars, the Vietnam War as of late. And it's great to have the families and all the families of the veterans come out and join us. You're welcome.
Thank you. Other announcements? All right. If not, are there adjourning tributes? There are. Could I ask everyone to please stand for adjourning tributes? Ms. Perry?
I have two adjourning motions. The first is for Cleo C. Washington, father of Celestine Palmer, who passed away on May 17th of 2005. In memory of Cleo Washington, who was a great family man and a community leader, I'd like for us all to join in paying tribute to the life and legacy of this individual. And many of you know his daughter. She's the head of LawPAC and has been in here many times with young women, mentoring them in the School of Politics. He married Annie Mae Mitchell, a local school teacher, in 1933. They had 4 children, Largette, Annie Laura, Celestine, and Cleo Jr. In 1942, Cleo joined the United States Navy and served with distinction in the Philippines and the Asiatic Pacific as a carpenter and machinist with the 80th Naval Construction Battalion. Following his naval discharge, Cleo and his family settled in the city of Los Angeles and joined the church family of Greater First Baptist Church. He was known for his love and dedication and commitment to family, church, and community, and his impact on our community will be felt for many, many, many decades to come. He was a founding member of Messiah Baptist Church and was elected to serve as the first chairman of the Deacon Board, where he served proudly, faithfully, and with divine dedication for 25 years, earning him the title of Chairman Emeritus. In 1969, he organized the first African-American Optimist Club in Los Angeles and lived his life honoring the Optimist Creed by sponsoring and organizing young people in such activities as the Boys Club, Bowling League, Girls Softball Team. And it was his passion for community that inspired not only his children, but others around him. He was a man of faith and conviction, and he will be missed, and he leaves to cherish his memory, his two children, Largette and Celestine, and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and one great-great-grandchild, and a host of nieces and nephews. His services will be Friday, or today, I guess, at Messiah Baptist Church, and they were held at 10 a.m. My final motion is to adjourn in the memory of Willie Hundley Dunning, who passed away April 24, 2005. He was born on July 15, 1943, to Georgia and Lloyd Hundley in Waynesboro, Mississippi. She lived her life with dignity and with a genuine love of family and community. She is survived by 2 daughters and 6 grandchildren, and her husband, Kelly Dunning.
Councilmember Smith. And we'll have Mr. Ludlow wanted to add names, and Mr. Garcetti, I believe, as well. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask we adjourn in the name of Marcia D'Amico, who passed away on Friday the 20th of complications from a stroke she suffered on the 17th. Ms. D'Amico was a 4th grade school teacher at Cantera School. I know her students are traumatized by the loss of their teacher, as are her family and friends. She was a resident of the Valley for almost her entire life. She's survived by her sons, Patrick, 18 years old, son Tommy, 22, her mother, 2 sisters, 1 brother, and lots of nieces and nephews, and certainly a number of students who loved her dearly. I'm sure she'll be missed. Thank you.
Any other adjourning motions? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.